welcome to BBOC Live, presented by DraftKings. It's 10:30 a.m. Eastern, and this is the Week 13 college football betting preview. I'm Stuckey, and joining me, as always, my fellow BBOC co-hosts, Collin Wilson, Mike Calabrese, and the one and only Josh Nunn, aka Duck. Have a lot to get to today. We'll give our first of two best bets in just a moment. We'll build our moneyline parlay. We'll talk the marquee matchup of the day between USC and Oregon, and I'll also talk with Duck about the FCS board in our D block. By the way, we will drop some quick slip links in the YouTube chat. So if you want to follow along with any of our bets, you can easily add them to your betting slips. So make sure you check that out. Also, check out Playbook on Twitter at Playbook, the new Action Network bot. Makes it super easy to automate any of your bets. If you like any bet that you see on Twitter or you just want it to automate a bet, it's especially convenient for parlays and props, etc. So make sure you check out at Playbook on Twitter. Gentlemen, this is one of my favorite weekends of the year. It's the last full, like truly full Saturday, which is crazy to say. The season has flown by as usual, but there's just an epcot of games. You have games that are completely meaningless, and then you have a ton of games that will matter for win totals and futures and conference standings and college football playoff, and then obviously all of your bets. So it's just nonstop action, and there's so much. I will care about so many games going on throughout the day. I'm excited. Duck, what's a under the radar storyline or game or future or win total that you'll be especially paying attention to?
I mean, there's so many at the FCS level. Will Lehigh secure a top four seed, brawl of the wild in Montana? Does South Dakota State start the season number 2 and 7-0 and lose their last five and miss the FCS playoffs? There's just so many things going on at the FCS ranks with this being the final week. So there's a lot there. There's a lot of G5 teams that are still in prove-it mode, I think. North Texas, JMU, that are really still trying to impress the committee to jockey for that sort of position of who's the top G5 team. So a lot of storylines. You said it really well. A really fun slate today.
Yeah, when I think of the slate, I also think of Lehigh. So you nailed it there. Calabrese, what's on your mind or radar?
I think it's interesting the Pitt Georgia Tech game. Georgia Tech at this point, I don't think there's a team that has a chance to make the college football playoff that gets talked about less. I don't know if everyone's just waiting for the bottom to drop out. Certainly, they had to pull a rabbit out of their hat in their last game against Boston College. It's a game they certainly could lose, and then the look ahead to the rivalry game with Georgia that they went, 8 overtimes last year. So it's just an interesting team to keep a hold of in terms of where they are in the national landscape. Because if they do make the playoff, they kind of have that pedigree of a team that could potentially throw an upset into a higher seed and kind of, ruin a path or create a smoother path for someone to make it to the championship game. We saw with Ohio State last year after beating Oregon, it kind of threw off the entire balance of the bracket. So I think Georgia Tech could be that crazy team that kind of disrupts the natural flow of things, but they also could lose outright today against the Panthers. So it's a game I'm going to keep an eye on.
Yeah, defense is awful, but Brent Key as a dog in a big spot would certainly be intriguing if the Ramblin' Wreck make the college football playoff. The ACC continues to be a mess. Did Mike Norvell get fired yet? I mean, Florida State losing on a punt off a helmet that bounced back to the line of scrimmage was something. I think it's been over 2 years since they've won a road game. Colin, how about you?
Yeah,
Ready
I
for
mean,
another Arkansas 3-point loss?
I mean that's exactly it. That's the team. I'm going to focus on my own homer team here today, which is Arkansas. I would like to see that there still be some gas left in the tank for these guys to be motivated to increase their value in the transfer portal, to increase their value of trying to get to a Senior Bowl. I want Taylor Green to have a great day. I want him to do well at the next level, but I want to cover too with my number. I expect us fully, the Razorbacks, to have a drive to win the game and then a fumble in the red zone, as we always do. I think what's most important today is that we keep an eye on these conference races and some of these teams that win this game. We talk about Georgia Tech, Pitt. Listen, if Pitt wins today, they get 41 degrees against Miami next week. That's big. What about Southern Miss? All of us are holding 40 to 1, 30 to 1 tickets out there. Are they going to win today? Is Braxton going to show up and not play? Is Troy going to be a bigger thing? I think there's a lot of conference races, and you're going to have to keep your eyes open today because the market's going to be hot and hopping tomorrow. Because next week is corpse versus motivation week, and you're going to have to be ready to fire on Sunday fast.
By the way, you mentioned your Razorbacks. It's now basketball season in Fayetteville. You told me like maybe Sanford's really good. So Winthrop must be really good.
Injury.
Arkansas with a
Jackson
big,
State's not. That will put it that way.
yeah, that was a blowout win. All right, good stuff. Yeah, stuff to pay attention to from start to finish across the board. Let's get started. Con, I'll kick it back to you for the first best bet of week 13. What do you got?
Yeah, I like Cincinnati BYU on the over. You and I talked about this on the pod. Which one of these defenses is going to show up today? My answer is neither of them. BYU right now on offense, top 10 in quality drives. They get down the field better than anybody with LJ Martin and Bear Bachmeier. They line up in 11 and 12 personnel. They run inside, outside zone. Inside zone is the bread and butter. You're going to see Bear Bachmeier up the middle, and
Injury.
you're going to see them hit outside zone and for the explosives. And Cincinnati just has such a poor rush defense, 38% success rate against inside zone, and they have no disruption. They're outside the top 100 in havoc. You go to the other side of the ball. Yeah, I like Brennan Sorsby as a quarterback, but BYU does play some pretty good pass defense, and that's not really the key here for their points. It's Evan Pryor coming back from injury. They have really missed him for 2 games. He averages 4.5 yards after first contact, which he has to because the offensive line doesn't block for him. He has 17 explosives on the season, and that is a way to get down the field on the BYUD. They struggle against inside zone. So I like both teams to be in scoring position consistently. I'd love to say I'd like to take a side in this, but I think you're going to be able to get three on both sides with this game with as many points are going to get scored.
Yeah, threes popped this morning. I did take some Cincy for the full game. I think it's a little bit of an overreaction. I mean, I Cincy and TCU essentially power rated the same, and BYU I know they deserve to win, but they close as a 3-point home favorite against TCU. Now they're on the road here, where they have been a little shakier. But I agree, both offenses should find success since that Cincy defense just can't get any pressure whatsoever. Calabrese, where are you going?
When in doubt, back Diego Pavia. The Commodores lay an 8.5, and they used to be an auto play as a dog, but now they've embraced this role as the hunted instead of the hunter. They're 6-2 against the spread in the last 2 years as a home favorite. And Kentucky on the road this year lost by 22 at South Carolina, lost by 21 at Georgia. And this 3-0 run that they're on, it's a great story. It certainly has helped Stoops in terms of his job security. But how much of that has been watered down competition? And Cutter Boley, by the way, 5 big time throws, 12 turnover worthy passes this season. So I think he's going to be under pressure in this game. I think they're going to force some mistakes. He's certainly been an upgrade. He's been a part of their turnaround this year. But I think this is where the wonderful story out of Lexington kind of hits a bit of an issue and a bit of a pothole in this spot. And finally, Vandy fresh off of a bye week, something they desperately needed. They went through a gauntlet. We've seen that this year. There's been some teams that have been fortuitous in terms of their schedule and how it's laid out in SEC play, and other teams that have gone through a brutal month-long stretch. Vandy was in desperate need of some time to both refresh mentally and physically. I think you're going to see some new wrinkles here, and they're going to be able to catch Kentucky with their pants down a few times defensively. So I'm going to go with Diego here, laying anything south of 10 points.
I'm curious to see what Vandy looks like. I believe that they were gassed at the end of that run, just brutal matchup after matchup. And towards the end, you could tell that they were just dead tired. So are we going to see a rejuvenated and refreshed team? I would think so. But Kentucky has been a lot feistier of late. It's back to football season in Lexington. We abandoned the team, and the basketball team's a mess. There's just rumors all across Lexington now. It's football season again. But a big game for Vanderbilt, who they win this week and then beat Tennessee next week. Hard to keep them out. Duck, what do you got?
I think Louisiana Monroe would contend with UMass to have the worst offense in FBS this season, 128th in offensive success rate, 111th in passing success, dead last in the country in explosiveness. The Warhawks have been held to 14 points or less 7 times this season, and this offense is really just not built to come from behind. I think they're in a major lay down and die spot here against a rejuvenated Texas State group. They should be able to accumulate. Texas State should be able to 500 yards, threaten to score 50 points here. I like that the Bobs have not quit on their head coach. I still think they're vying for bowl game eligibility. I'm laying the 20 with Texas State.
Offense definitely can put up points in a hurry, as we saw last week. And that team is just due for good things to happen to them. I think they recovered their first fumble last week, which is pretty insane for a team that just I think they were 5-0 or 0-5 in league play. They could have been 5-0, or yeah, they should have lost to Jam. They could have been 4-1 and in the mix, but
A lot of fluky losses.
lost in heartbreaking fashion. And I think they're taking their anger out now, and they're going to win out, I assume, and go to a bowl game where they might be a team to potentially back. I'm going to go with LSU laying the points here. I show value in this number. You might say to yourself, okay, well, is LSU going to care? And that's a lot of what this week is. You have to determine who's going to show up and what the motivation is for some of these teams. Sometimes you're going to be right, sometimes you're going to be wrong. LSU, look, they're coming off of a close win against Arkansas. They have Oklahoma on deck. So you might say, like, do they care about Western Kentucky? Well, at night in primetime, last home game, I think they will. And this is a game where LSU will finally be able to block the opponent. They'll be able to run on the opponent. And I'm not sure Western Kentucky will be all the way locked in, right? Their season comes down to next week and next week's game to get to the conference title. Were they preparing for that game in Jacksonville State this week? Will they, hold anybody back that's banged up? Tisdale has been awful against pressure, which I'm sure he's going to see against LSU. That defense is still really good. And this is just a huge step up in class for Western Kentucky, who I believe, including FCS team, their strength of schedule is like 155th. They've played, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Doug. I don't know if you have the schedule. I believe they played one team that's Western Kentucky's playing one team that's going to go to a bowl. I might be wrong, and that's Toledo on the road, and they lost by 24. And LSU, meanwhile, is a top 10 most difficult schedule in the country. This is a huge step up in class for Western Kentucky. I think LSU wants to stretch its legs, have a nice win, playing hard on their interim. So give me the Tigers.
Yeah, Western Kentucky, 7 opponents ranked outside the top 120.
Have they played? Have they played anyone that's gone to a bowl besides Toledo?
Well, Missouri State and Delaware would have, but not eligible.
Yeah, Missouri State they won because Missouri State's quarterback got hurt, and Delaware was one of the flukiest wins of the year. So yeah, they've had one of the easiest schedules in the entire country. All right, it's time to build our money line parlay. But before we do, I'll toss to myself for a quick read on our sponsor, DraftKings. The Big Bets on Campus podcast is teamed up with DraftKings Sportsbook, where new customers can bet $5 and get $200 back in bonus bets if your bet wins, plus 3 months of NBA League Pass. Stay in on the action and use your bonus bets on DraftKings same game parlays for an even bigger payout. To get started, use promo code BBOC when signing up with DraftKings. Again, that's promo code BBOC when signing up, and bet $5 to get 200 back in bonus bets if your bet wins, plus 3 months of NBA League Pass. The crown is yours. All right, it's time to build our moneyline parlay. Have come so close. One play, 1 point, one game away many times this year. Calabrese tried to warn you about Coastal, although I'll give it to you that their quarterback got hurt, which changed the complexion of that game.
Yeah.
Although shout out to OJ Arnold, who had 390 yards from scrimmage and like 4 touchdowns, I believe. What a day for Gata. I just browsed over the picks that we have here. I have no disagreements. Collin, kick us off.
Well, I veered off of our moneyline parlay from the pod because that team no longer really has a lot of juice left in it. Let's go to Missouri. There has been a major crash since you and I podcasted about this team, and I think it's called for, but I don't think it should be because of Bo Prabula. I think just literally Missouri has a chance to win here. Great situational spot against Oklahoma, coming off that win against Alabama. They didn't win it in the box score, but they won it on the field. And I think you ask yourself with this OU defense, exactly how is Missouri going to get into scoring position, put some points up, and do enough to win this game? And that answer is Ahmad Hardy. I mean, Ole Miss went to OU's field and ran all over them. Ahmad Hardy is rejuvenated since that bye week. 109 yards against Texas A&M, 298 against Mississippi State on the ground last week. He's averaging 5.5 yards after first contact since the bye. Forced 10 missed tackles last week. I mean, this outside zone with Ahmad Hardy is firing on all cylinders. And we saw this great OU defense, which I love and I've backed all year. Ole Miss tore them up on their home field. I think Missouri's going to do a little bit of the same. This is going to be tight today. I'll take the Tigers and all the plus juice you can get.
Yeah, my only fear with Prabula playing, like we bet this earlier in the week, if you listen to
Yeah.
our podcast, thinking that Prabula probably wasn't going to play. And now he is. The line has crashed. My only fear is, like, is he rusty? Is he fully healthy? Like Zollers hasn't been good throwing the ball, but like that does add some uncertainty. But that for a money line piece, I certainly don't mind that. The other one that you mentioned was South Alabama against Southern Miss.
Yeah.
which I also do like because Southern Miss, we don't know if Braxton's going to play. I don't know if it's been announced yet. But that game means nothing to Southern Miss, assuming that Troy beats Georgia State. Their division will come
They
down
should.
next week if that's the case. So if Braxton is a little like even a little banged up, I assume you hold him out again. And boy, I'll tell you, it was ugly without him last week. Liddy, big drop off. Calabrese, this was mine from the podcast. Where are you going?
Going UTSA, I would say there's not a team at the G5 level that is more different at home than they are on the road. Just look at the Roadrunners under trailer at the Alamo Dome. 32-4 straight up under trailer, and then 4-2 as a home dog. And by the way, their last two home games this year against Rice and Tulane, they dropped 109 total points. The other element here is the run game, which I think should be able to go off against ECU here. Robert Henry allegedly is going to play, but even if he doesn't, they have another running back that's also averaging over 7 yards per carry.
Will Henderson,
Will
speedster.
Henderson's incredible. So this offense can absolutely roll when it has that balance. Robert Henry, by the way, 4.5 yards after contact this season. And there was a quote from Trailer earlier in the week that he's still RB1 on their depth chart. So I'm expecting him to play in this one. I think they held him out as a precaution at the end of last week, but they're pretty cagey with their injury news. Either way, I want the Roadrunners. Hashtag meep meep in a spot like this. They are just a different animal at the Alamo Dome.
Yeah, I think it's a good spot. 5 of their last 7 have come on the road, where they have not been as good, and 5 of the past 7 for ECU have been at home. And I think and UTSA 24-0 straight up under trailer at home against league opponents, if you include conference championships. 24-0. He has not lost a home game against a league foe. Duck, you're going to noon.
Yeah, I like Temple to upset Tulane. I think the Owls are really feisty at home. We've seen them take Navy to the wire and defeating UTSA, that same UTSA team that we just talked about that destroyed Tulane. The key here is the Owls are getting healthier on defense. You look at their defensive tackle, Demerick Morris, Eric Stewart, one of their linebackers, their safety, Avery Powell's coming back. They've got an edge rusher, Chroma, that's coming back. They've all missed time on defense, and now they're all coming back for this one here. This Temple defense has been so much more formidable and so much better than expected under Casey Keeler in year one. The attitude, the intensity, all so much different than what we ever saw under Stan Drayton. I look at Evan Simon, 22-1 touchdown to interception ratio. Tulane's defense is 124th in allowing explosive pass plays and 121st in overall defensive success rate. Tulane's road performances have just left so much to be desired. They needed to eke one out against South Alabama. The rest of the road performances for the Green Wave have just not been crisp and sharp here. I think this is big trouble here for the Green Wave this week. All the distractions going on with the head coach. Is he staying? Is he going? Is he interviewing? What's he doing? I don't like it here. I think Temple comes in, shows up ready to go, and they win.
And we get to a bowl if they do win. At North
Mhm.
Texas next week will obviously be tough. That would be a big win for the program. I think the last time they even cleared 3 wins was 2019.
Has
And
there been another head coach that's like left a bigger gap from where he left to where he went? I mean, Temple going to a bowl and Sam Houston, like, not, I mean, Casey Keeler should get Coach of the Year.
hey, Sam Houston's won 2 in a row. All right, I'm going to go with Utah State late night. Ducks going noon. I'll finish things up with a late night play. I mean, Fresno State, look, I think this is just a coin flip game, and I have the better quarterback, the better coach. Fresno State, the past 2 wins have seen some of the worst quarterback play you will ever see. They played the Boise backup, and then they played Caden Anderson, who I don't know what he was doing for Wyoming last week. I mean, I think he was 2 of 19 at one point. So their defense has looked a lot better than this. They still can't throw the ball. It's all raw. This is going to be an ugly game. I'll take a shot on a game that I think is a coin flip. Give me Utah State. So we got Missouri, UTSA, Temple, Utah State, 46-1 at DraftKings. All right, before we get to the marquee matchup, just want to let you guys all know we have our best deal of the year going right now. Our Black Friday pre-sale gives you $40 off a year of Action Pro. Get real-time alerts when myself, Collin, if you care, Duck, and Mike track their bets, plus access to our Action Pro projections led by the prop projection GOAT, Sean Kerner. Again, this is our best deal of the year. Head to actionnetwork.com/pro to get this deal now. Promise you won't regret it. All right, let's get to our marquee matchup of the day between USC and Oregon in Eugene. This game has major implications for the college football playoff. USC will enter the conversation if they win this game. Oregon will maintain its current trajectory if it can hold on for a win as around a 10 and a half point favorite here. Collin, what are you seeing?
I love the Oregon team total over, and I love Jordan Davis and 2+ TDs. And so I think they go hand in hand because of some of the news, the breaking news that we're getting on some of the injuries right now. Decoring Moore, Gary Bryant going to be out for the Ducks offense. That means this is going to be a ground-based attack. But I don't think that's going to limit Oregon on scoring points here. USC is 128th in defensive rushing success rate, 130th in defensive line yards. Oregon's going to own this trench offensively today. I don't know if Keyshawn Silver, the defensive tackle for USC, is going to play. He exited the Iowa game. More importantly, you want more injuries. You and I talked about Bishop Fitzgerald for USC. He left the game. He's one of their best safeties, best second level tacklers. He's not playing. He was called virtually zero today to play. And Kamari Ramsey, the green dot helmet, we have no clue if he's playing. That is questionable. So what we're looking at is a USC defense that's ranked 15th in tackling, ranked 15th in broken tackles allowed, missing their biggest pieces and stopping the run, especially second level runs. You have an Oregon offense that won't have Decoring Moore that's going to run the ball like crazy. It's a huge advantage against USC. So yes, I like Oregon's team total over. If you want to wait 30 minutes to buy it, you can, because 59.5 just went to 57.5 in the last 3 minutes since we were sitting here talking about it. That could help you get this Oregon team total over down to 34, maybe a 33.5 pops, but you want the best number. I don't expect Oregon offense to be flat whatsoever. And as far as Jordan Davis and 2+ TDs, he's had 2 rushing TDs in 2 of his last 3 games, and this USC defense gives up a lot of red zone rush touchdowns. So Oregon team total over Jordan Davis, and that's my play today.
Yeah, I was thinking about playing the over, but with the Oregon injuries, the uncertainty on the USC defense, I don't know if I can get to the window, but I do think that both teams have been hurt by like weather over the past few weeks, so their scoring has been suppressed in certain games. So like I think that both teams want to open it up here. But with some of the injuries, there's no Waymon Jordan who I would have liked to see for USC. I don't know, it's probably a pass, but was looking at the over earlier in the week. Calabrese, what are you seeing here?
I'm gonna go with a player prop parlay. If you go Makai Lemon to hit 100 receiving yards and score a touchdown over at DraftKings, that's 2-1 on a payout. He's received double-digit targets in 4 of his last 6 games. He's hit 100 plus in half of his games this season. And Oregon's desire to potentially double him, it becomes tricky because they're going to move him around pre-snap. They're going to have him in the slot, and then Jacoby Lane on the other side of things. If you want to go ahead and roll coverage over to Lemon, it's going to be a pick your poison situation for the Ducks. So I don't necessarily see them being able to scheme him out of getting his average targets, which are dropping about in the 12 target range for the second half of this season. And when you look at it, yes, Oregon, you can only play the teams that were on your schedule, and they've done a great job in terms of their pass defense, but they played one alpha dog in terms of a top wide receiver, and that was Indiana's Elijah Surratt. He went for 121 receiving yards and a touchdown. I think it's going to be a similar outcome for Lemon. I think they're going to be chasing to keep up with an Oregon team that's going to score a lot today. So 2-1 is certainly worth a swing here.
Yeah, you mentioned Oregon's pass defense rankings. We're going to learn a lot today against Lemon and Lane because they really haven't played. I mean, you look at some of the pass offenses they've played, and it's pretty disgusting. Duck, what are you saying?
I kind of actually have walked away from some of USC's performances pretty impressed, especially with how they've played against some of the more physical teams in the Big Ten, Iowa, Michigan, and then how they played in South Bend against Notre Dame. The last time Oregon has faced an offense like this was Indiana, who got them at home. I think the Ducks defensively are sound and solid, but they have played some really bad Big Ten offenses. I kind of think USC can go in there, throw it around a little bit, and give them a game. My concern, if you want to back USC, is exactly kind of what Collin had said. If they just completely get run all over here by the Ducks, that would be the concern here. I have not gotten to the window on this one, but I think when you look at how USC has performed against some of these other teams, 10.5 is too many here. When you try to figure out the performance against Notre Dame, how they both looked against Iowa. It just doesn't really pass the sniff test here, in my opinion, to lay more than this. So I lean USC. I think it'll be a fun game, should be high scoring, but I don't have anything in pocket right now.
All right, good stuff. Bring just Duck in here for the moment talk some FCS. Duck, we're going to kick things off in the Ivy.
Yeah, fun game. The game, Harvard Yale, and much more meaning now than ever as the winner gets the auto bid to the FCS playoffs for the Ivy League and the first time in their proud history. Um, Yale's run defense is really, really stout. They're going to also provide a significant amount of pressure in the pass rush to Harvard quarterback Jaden Craig. Yale's front, 32 sacks, 55 tackles for loss this season, and they are going to deploy a real rush heavy attack. Running back Josh Pitzenberger, 1,100 yards, doesn't go down on first contact. Yale's going to make Harvard work for everything in this matchup. Harvard has blown through the Ivy League all season, but they've played a little tight in recent weeks. Yale's getting 7.5 at home. I like Yale to keep this one close and take it to the wire.
All right, for your second pick, we're going with a big favorite.
Yeah, North Dakota State has been the cream of the crop in FCS all season. Now they're taking on non-scholarship FCS Pioneer Football League participant St. Thomas. NDSU has all but wrapped up the number one seed, and you're probably going to only see the starting platoon for about a half. But even so, the talent disparity will be so big. North Dakota State will be able to run the ball all over St. Thomas, and St. Thomas's offensive line is going to get absolutely eaten alive by North Dakota State's front seven. Without even being very overt about running it up, North Dakota State can get this to 38 nothing or 45 to 3 really quickly. So go find the 32 and a halves and lay it with the Bison at home on senior day.
All right, and one bonus pick. We got some Fansgiving.
Yeah, we've got Albany and Monmouth. Albany's defense is atrocious. Monmouth is anticipating the return of their star quarterback, Derek Robertson. He may or may not go, but last week you look at what Weaver did. He is in so much better command of this offense than when he took over. Threw for 428 yards last week against North Carolina A&T with 6 touchdowns. Their defense is comparable to Albany's. I would not put it past Monmouth to score in the 50s here. Albany's offense the last couple of weeks has played better against defenses that are better than Monmouth, scoring 19, 24, 16, and 17 in recent weeks. I think we see a convincing Monmouth win, but Albany's going to contribute to this total, so I like Albany, Monmouth over 61 and a half.
All right, good stuff from Duck. We got big favorite North Dakota State, a dog in the Ivy with Yale, and the Monmouth Albany over, which I'm sure everyone will be locked into. All right, before we get out of here, one final best bet at the horn. Try to make it quick, gentlemen, which means Colin's going to start talking about run concepts. Although I just looked, I ruined your pick
Yeah.
earlier. It looks like.
No, I mean you took all the same, but I like it. The only thing I can add is I do like South Alabama today. Absolutely no reason Southern Miss to play this game. If you look at what Major Applewhite, some of the interviews that he cut, this is a proximity rivalry. South Alabama against Southern Miss is a big deal to us. This is everything. We are 5-0 all time against Southern Miss. 5 straight victories last 5 years. Quarterback Bishop Davenport has been playing really well. South Alabama has won 2 of their last 3. They have nothing to play for, but they're playing for some reason. Braylon Braxton, no reason to play this game, but Southern Miss is playing their hand like he's going to get on the field and warm up. I guarantee he's not going to play. Go South Alabama.
Yeah, he warmed up last week, and then it was Liddy who took the field. And yeah, you got Bishop Fitzgerald on your mind. You slipped him when you were talking. I mean, Bishop Davenport. You slipped him when you were talking about Bishop Fitzgerald. So
Yeah.
he's gonna have a big day here. Calabrese, what do you got?
Well, Stuck, you were saying that next week you're looking forward to some of those corpses versus motivated teams. I'll give it to you 1 week early. San Jose State is, the walking wounded right now. They also put up the white flag on their season. Bowl eligibility's out the window. They just pulled their starting quarterback, Walker Eget, in a blowout loss to Nevada, where he threw 3 picks and looked completely lost. And Danny Scudero is clearly the transfer portal's on his mind. He's someone who's going to get a bag to move from the slot for the Spartans to probably a Power 4 team next season. Meanwhile, the Aztecs need to keep winning to secure their spot in the Mountain West title game, and their defense has been a brick wall at home. You look at it, they're averaging just 7.6 points allowed per game at home. They shut out Cal on their home field at Snapdragon Stadium. They put up a great performance holding Boise to 7 points. And when you look at their metrics against the pass, they're 9th in coverage, 2nd in passing success rate defense, and 40th in havoc. I think this is going to be a bad spot for SJSU. I'll go under on their team total, which is bubbled up to 18.5. Anything north of 17 is an underplay for me here.
Yeah, that San Jose State performance against Nevada was something. Duck, you going with the Mean Green?
I'm laying it with the mean green. I look at North Texas, their offense is just absolutely electric. I do not believe that Rice's coverage guys will be able to stick with the North Texas receivers. North Texas has scored 50 points or more 6 times in this season. Rice's offense struggles from playing from behind. They're not going to be able to run their stuff. They're going to have to kind of abandon the game script. They can't throw their way out of trouble. North Texas puts up a huge number to impress the committee, and Rice will not be able to keep up. 17.5, lay it with the mean green.
All right, I'm going to go with UAB. It's dream crusher spot for USF after last week's upset loss. Their hopes and dreams are pretty much over. Goalish, who knows what he's been doing all week besides interviewing? How much do they really prepare or care? Do they even get off the bus? I'm not sure. UAB can at least score. It is scary that USF plays with so much tempo. So, when you're backing a big dog, that's not what you want. But UAB can put up points. They can get in the back door if needed. And USF just might come out completely flat after being in the driver's seat for the college football playoff prior to last week's loss. So give me the Blazers, who are still playing hard for their interim, Collins boy, Mortensen. All right, that'll do it for us. Don't forget about the voicemail 959 Bad Beat. We will have our recap episode tomorrow. Thanks to Duck, Mike, and Collin for joining me. Most importantly, thanks to all of you for tuning in. Check out our podcast, Big Bets on Campus, presented by DraftKings, wherever you listen to podcasts. Group of Five guys will be back. We'll actually all be back. We're going to do all of the work Monday and Tuesday. We're going to have our episodes out by Wednesday for you guys with the holiday. So don't worry. Everything will be out. We have a great slate from starting on Tuesday, Wednesday with Maction, but Thursday, Friday, Saturday's card. We'll have everything out by Wednesday. Collin and I will do the main slate. Group of Five guys. They'll all be out Wednesday. Thanks again for tuning in. 959 Bad Beat. Final reminder on the voicemail. Make sure you check out the Action Network app. Thanks to DraftKings. We'll catch y'all later. Cheers.